What if I told you that the bottles, cans, and tires you're about to throw away could become glowing lanterns, hobbit hearts, or even a pumpkin carriage for your fairy garden? In this video from Modhouse DIY, we'll explore 15 whimsical autumn upcycling ideas that turn trash into treasures you won't believe. We've added timestamps so you can skip straight to the projects you love. And if any of these inspire you, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, use your creativity and what you already have to bring these magical ideas to life. Maybe to you, I'm just another video on your feed. But behind every frame is a real story, a real family. This isn't just content, it's a dream we're building piece by piece. Every like, every comment, every subscribe keeps this dream alive. Thank you for seeing me, and for giving hope with just one click. There is a special kind of magic that arrives in the garden when daylight fades and autumn begins to whisper across the leaves. Imagine stepping outside on a crisp evening, the air carrying the earthy scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke, only to see tiny lights flickering among the hedges. They are not real fireflies, but they carry the same enchantment, glowing wings crafted from the humblest of plastic bottles. Each little bottle, once discarded and forgotten, has been reshaped into a fairy creature of light. Their wings, cut from clear plastic and painted with soft strokes of shimmering autumn tones, catch the last rays of twilight. Inside, a tiny LED spark glows gently, pulsing like the rhythm of a living heartbeat. These glowing companions drift along wires hidden between branches, making it seem as if the garden itself has come alive with fireflies, celebrating the season. Children who wander past stop and stare. Adults pause, too, smiling with a touch of nostalgia, remembering nights when real fireflies filled the dusk. What makes these magical is not only the whimsical glow, but the story they carry. That trash, when touched by imagination, can shine brighter than anyone expects. Placed low near pumpkins, or hanging from apple branches, they bring warmth and wonder. In a tiny corner of the garden, these bottle fireflies transform the ordinary into a page from a storybook. Each glowing wing reminds us that beauty does not ask for perfection, it simply asks for presence. And so, as the evening deepens and stars slowly claim the sky, the garden does not fall into darkness. Instead, it hums quietly with light, a chorus of small recycled spirits fluttering gently, reminding us that even what we throw away can learn to glow again. In every fairy tale, there is always a place where warmth gathers, a hearth that glows softly, drawing friends and wanderers near. Now imagine this same charm brought to life in a garden, not with bricks or stone, but with the simple body of an old milk can. Once a vessel for daily living, dented and forgotten, it now rises again as a hobbit hearth, glowing in the corner of a magical autumn garden. The milk can is painted in earthy tones, browns mingled with deep greens, as if moss has claimed it for its own. Around the edges, autumn leaves rest like golden embers, softening the metal surface. A small cutout in the front becomes the hearth's opening, where a gentle LED light flickers like a tiny fire, casting shadows of warmth against the evening chill. In daylight, it feels like an artifact from Middle-earth itself, the kind of object one might stumble upon at the edge of a shire garden. Children imagine hobbits inside, tending to their stew while smoke curls gently from a hidden pipe. At night, the glow transforms the milk can into a beacon, a place where fairies might gather to tell their stories under the orange lantern of the harvest moon. The charm lies in its balance. It is rustic yet whimsical, recycled yet full of fantasy. Guests in the garden are drawn toward it, feeling not just its glow but also its narrative. The old milk can whispers that even the most ordinary vessels, once forgotten, can hold the spirit of a hearth, a symbol of togetherness. And so the hobbit hearth becomes not just a decoration, but a story, a reminder that magic often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. In the heart of the garden, where ivy climbs the fence and chrysanthemums bloom in bursts of orange and gold, an old tire rests quietly. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a forgotten circle of rubber, heavy with years of use. But with a little imagination, it becomes something far greater, an enchanted pumpkin house, the kind that might belong to fairies or hobbits hidden deep within the folds of autumn. The tire is painted a glowing shade of pumpkin orange, its surface softened with strokes of chalky whites and rustic browns to echo the textures of real harvest gourds. A small round door is cut into the side, framed with twigs, moss, and bottle cap hinges that gleam faintly. Tiny windows, painted on or carved with delicate care, glow at dusk with hidden lights, making the tire pulse like a living fairy pumpkin. Placed low among the marigolds or nestled beside a garden fence, it feels alive, as if it rolled out from a storybook and settled quietly to become part of the autumn world. Children stop to peer into its windows, expecting to see a fairy stirring soup inside. Adults smile at the way a piece of trash has turned into a portal of whimsy, proof that creativity is a kind of alchemy. At night, the tire pumpkin glows warmly, a lantern in the cool dark of autumn evenings. It anchors the garden, drawing eyes and sparking curiosity. Visitors often lean in closer, surprised by the details, the mossy edges, the tiny chimney fashioned from an old soda can, the small wooden steps that lead to its door. It is more than decor, it is a home for the imagination. The enchanted tire pumpkin house tells us that what is heavy, worn, and thrown aside can, in the right hands, become a cradle of magic. There is something enchanting about walking beneath an archway. It frames the world, transforming even the smallest garden path into an entrance to another realm. Now picture this arch not made of stone or iron, but of delicate wings, wings carved from clear plastic bottles, shimmering as if touched by fairy dust. This is the fairy wing arch, a gateway of light and playfulness, born from what was once nothing more than discarded bottles. Each wing begins as a simple curve of plastic, cut and shaped with care. When painted in soft translucent hues, pearly whites, gentle blues, and autumn ambers, the wings capture sunlight and scatter it like stained glass. At dusk, tiny lights hidden among the arch flicker on, making the wings glow softly, as though real fairies had left their imprint behind. Placed at the entrance of a side yard or standing quietly in a corner, the arch transforms an ordinary space into something wondrous. Children tiptoe beneath it, holding their breath, convinced that stepping through might carry them into another world. Adults linger as well, caught in the glow of childhood memory, smiling at the unexpected beauty born from plastic that was once destined for the trash. The arch does more than decorate. It tells a story of transformation, of how the everyday can be reshaped into something extraordinary, if only seen with new eyes. On a breezy autumn day, the wings tremble slightly, catching the light in flashes that mimic the flutter of something alive. And so, the fairy wing arch stands as a promise that magic is not found far away, but created here, with our own hands, in the simplest of gardens. There is a certain delight in stumbling upon something mysterious in the garden, an object that feels like it belongs to another world. Imagine this, an old soda can, once tossed aside, now reborn as a cauldron of autumn spells. It sits quietly in a corner of the garden, its round body painted matte black and flecked with bronze, glowing from within as if tiny sparks of magic are bubbling to the surface. The top edge of the can is softened with moss and bits of bark, so it looks as though nature itself has claimed it. Inside, a hidden light flickers orange, echoing the glow of embers, while wisps of dry leaves are arranged to look like smoke curling into the cool autumn air. A scattering of acorns, berries, and tiny twigs rest around the base, like ingredients left behind by a wizard who wandered off to gather more. In daylight, the cauldron charms with whimsy. It looks playful, a hint of fantasy hidden among tomatoes, peppers, or chrysanthemums. But at dusk, its glow turns captivating, casting shadows that dance like runes across the nearby fence. Visitors lean in closer, curious, as if expecting the cauldron to stir itself. Children imagine potions brewing, a charm for good harvest, a spell for golden leaves to last just a little longer. What makes it magical is not just the glow, but the story it tells, that even the most ordinary piece of trash can feel as though it has carried secrets all along. To transform a can into a cauldron is to say, magic is not only in fairy tales, but also in the things we throw away, waiting to be rediscovered. The cauldron of autumn spells is more than a decoration. It is a reminder of how whimsy and recycling can coexist, how imagination and resourcefulness can turn waste into wonder. And in that quiet corner of the garden, with the leaves crunching underfoot and the chill of the season in the air, one can almost believe a spell really has been cast. Every autumn tale carries whispers of pumpkins, glowing lanterns, enchanted gardens, and midnight transformations. But here, in the corner of a garden, a simple old tire takes on that role. Painted in radiant pumpkin orange, brushed with soft strokes of rustic brown, the circle of rubber becomes something more, a fairy carriage, waiting to roll into a story. The tire is set upright, its hollow center transformed into the carriage's doorway. Twigs and vines form delicate spirals around the frame, imitating golden wheels and curling handles. On top, dried leaves and moss create a crown, a natural flourish that feels as if the forest itself crowned the carriage for its journey. Fairy lights wind through the vines, glowing at dusk, so that even in stillness the carriage hums with life. Children run toward it, certain that Cinderella's mice might appear at any moment, ready to pull it into the night. Adults chuckle, charmed by the transformation of something so heavy and forgotten into a symbol of whimsy and light. Neighbors pause at the fence, asking, "Is that really a tire?" And the answer carries delight, "Yes, but now it is a pumpkin carriage, born of imagination." Placed on the garden edge beside chrysanthemums or marigolds, the carriage looks as though it belongs in a fairy parade. At night, the glow turns the garden corner into a stage for storytelling. The tire is no longer a piece of waste, it is a beacon of magic, proof that creativity has the power to change not only objects, but also the way we see the world. And so, the pumpkin tire fairy carriage waits, not to be ridden, but to remind us that every forgotten thing can carry beauty inside, waiting for the right season to reveal it. Among the treasures of autumn, few are as charming as the humble acorn. Scattered across the ground, they feel like nature's own jewels, small tokens of the season's abundance. Now imagine capturing that charm and turning it into glowing lanterns for the garden, not carved from wood or stone, but from recycled plastic bottles. These become acorn lanterns, whimsical lights that dangle gently in the crisp autumn air. Each lantern begins as a bottle cut down to size, its base shaped into the rounded body of the acorn. The tops are covered with textured caps made from bark, twigs, or even bottle caps painted a warm chestnut brown. When lit from within, the lanterns glow with a soft amber light, as if autumn itself were bottled and set free. Hanging from low tree branches, tucked along pergola beams, or resting against a garden path, they scatter warmth wherever they appear. During the day, the lanterns look playful, oversized acorns caught in a fairy tale. Children delight in spotting them, reaching up to touch, asking if squirrels might come to carry them away. At night, the lanterns shift into something more magical, soft lights glowing against the dark, guiding footsteps along the garden path like beacons from another realm. What makes these lanterns so special is the way they blend the ordinary and the extraordinary. A bottle, once destined for trash, now holds the essence of autumn's coziness. Their glow feels both nostalgic and whimsical, reminding us that transformation often hides in the smallest details. Placed in clusters, the plastic bottle acorn lanterns create the feeling of walking through an enchanted woodland, where fairies might hide behind every leaf. And for anyone who pauses to look closer, the message is clear: imagination can turn even the simplest of scraps into treasures that light the way home. At the edge of a whimsical garden, where ivy climbs the fences and marigolds bloom in glowing shades of gold, a tower rises. But it is not made of stone, nor carved with ancient hands. It begins as a humble milk can, weathered and dented, once used for daily chores. Now, transformed with imagination, it stands tall as a fairy tower, the kind one might expect to see in a woodland kingdom or beside a hobbit's gate. The milk can forms the sturdy base, painted in earthy tones of mossy green and slate gray. Its rounded shape gives it the charm of an old keep. Atop, smaller cans or lids can be stacked, forming spires that rise like watchtowers. Painted details, tiny windows, winding vines, or even little banners, give the illusion of a place lived in. At night, fairy lights hidden inside cast a glow through the cutout shapes, turning the tower into a beacon for imaginary travelers. Placed in a small corner garden or beside a rustic wooden fence, the tower feels alive. Children imagine fairies perched at the windows, waving with tiny lanterns in hand. Adults pause to marvel at how something so ordinary can suddenly feel like a castle, a miniature monument rising from recycled scraps. The charm of the fairy tower lies in its dual nature, both whimsical and resourceful. It proves that even an object destined for the trash can become an anchor of magic in the garden. On cool autumn nights, when the air carries the scent of smoke and the crunch of leaves underfoot, the tower glows like a lighthouse of imagination. In the end, the Milk Can Fairy Tower becomes more than decor. It is a story etched in metal and light, whispering that castles don't need stone, only vision, warmth, and a touch of fairy mischief. In the playful world of an autumn garden, even scraps of metal can wear a little magic. Picture this, an old soda can, dented and forgotten, shaped into a pointy cap that glimmers with mystery. With a snip here, a curve there, it transforms into a wizard's hat light, glowing softly like a lantern that once belonged in the hands of a wandering sorcerer. The body of the can becomes the tall, slanted hat, its surface painted in deep midnight blues or rustic autumn oranges. Tiny star-shaped cutouts are carved into the metal, letting the hidden light inside spill through in golden sparks. Some hats lean slightly to one side, whimsical and crooked, as if they had been worn by wizards who laughed more than they frowned. When lined up along a garden path or hung from pergola beams, they create the illusion of a tiny wizard festival, gathering under the harvest moon. By day, the hats glimmer with metallic highlights, catching the sunlight and turning ordinary cans into playful sculptures. By night, they shine like enchanted lanterns, their star-cut shadows dancing across the garden fence or stone paths. Neighbors might glance over and wonder, what secret celebration is happening here, while children whisper about spells cast at dusk. What makes these lights special is the story they carry. Trash becomes wonder, a soda can become a symbol of wizardry. It is not only about recycling but about rewriting the object's purpose, turning something disposable into something lasting. The magic lies in the way imagination can bend the simplest material into fantasy. And so, the wizard's hat lights become more than decoration. They are tiny storytellers, standing in the garden with their crooked charm, reminding us that sometimes the smallest sparks can light up the darkest corners with joy. Every garden has its secrets, but in autumn, when the air grows crisp and the leaves scatter like golden whispers, those secrets feel closer to the surface. Imagine walking through a quiet garden corner and finding glowing spheres nestled among the flowers, crystal ball orbs made from the most ordinary of things, recycled plastic bottles. Each orb begins as a clear bottle, reshaped and painted with a translucent shimmer, silvers, soft violets, or misty blues that catch the light like real crystal. Inside, a hidden glow hums softly, shifting between warm amber and pale moonlight. Rested on mossy stones or tucked among marigolds, these glowing balls look as though a wizard had left them behind after an evening of stargazing. By day, they glint faintly like dewdrops, magnified, playful and enchanting. By night, they transform into glowing spheres of mystery. Shadows flicker across the garden as their light falls through leaves and branches, turning the space into something more than a backyard, a place where prophecies and fairy tales might be whispered in hushed voices. Children crouch down, staring into the glow, convinced that if they look hard enough they'll see visions inside. Adults pause, too, drawn in by the unexpected beauty of what once was trash. It is not just the glow but the transformation that captures them, the thought that something so fragile and fleeting as a plastic bottle can be reborn as something timeless, like a crystal ball. Placed in clusters along a garden path or hidden among pumpkins and ivy, the crystal ball orbs invite curiosity. They remind us that recycling isn't only about saving materials, it's about reclaiming wonder, taking what we overlook and giving it the chance to tell a new story. In the gentle light of autumn evenings, these glowing spheres feel less like decoration and more like companions, small, glowing keepers of the garden's secret magic. There is a kind of doorway that feels less like an entrance and more like an invitation. In autumn gardens, where leaves gather in golden drifts and the air tastes of wood smoke, such a doorway can be born from the unlikeliest of things, an old tire. Cut and shaped into a circle, painted in soft grays and mossy greens, it becomes a Moongate fairy portal, a threshold that whispers of other worlds. The tire, once heavy and forgotten, is set upright into the soil. Its round form is softened with ivy, moss, and tiny painted stars. In daylight, the gate frames glimpses of the garden beyond, pumpkins on the ground, chrysanthemums blooming, peppers ripening on their stems. Children crouch to peek through, giggling as if expecting a fairy to wave back. Adults pause, struck by how the simple shape of a circle can transform a corner into something sacred, almost holy. At twilight, the magic deepens. Small bottle lanterns dangle from the arch of the tire, glowing softly in amber light. The garden beyond seems different when viewed through the portal, warmer, more secret, like a dreamscape only revealed to those who dare to look. It is not just decoration. It is storytelling in its purest form, a way of saying, here is where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The beauty of the Moongate fairy portal lies not only in its charm but also in its symbolism. Tires, symbols of wear and motion, are reborn here as a symbol of stillness and wonder. What once carried the weight of roads now carries the lightness of imagination. And in the hush of an autumn evening, when shadows stretch long and stars begin to spark above, the portal stands silent but alive, not just a circle of rubber, but a passage into a garden that feels a little closer to the world of fairies. There's something timeless about pumpkin faces in autumn, wide grins, glowing eyes, and a touch of playful mischief. But instead of carving real pumpkins, imagine giving that role to a row of old tin cans. Dented, painted, and cut with care, they come to life as pumpkin faces, bringing a whimsical glow to the garden. Each can begins its second life with a coat of rustic orange, brushed with hints of brown and gold to mimic the warmth of a harvest gourd. Holes are cut into eyes and smiles, crooked but full of character. Inside, small lights flicker, casting patterns across the ground as though the cans were laughing softly in the evening air. By day, they stand cheerfully along fences or perched on stone walls, their painted faces bright against the backdrop of chrysanthemums and ivy. They look playful, like guardians of a fairy harvest. By night, they transform into lanterns, their glow spreading across fallen leaves and garden paths. Their imperfect shapes only add to the charm, no two faces alike, each one telling its own story. Children giggle at their silly grins, while adults find themselves unexpectedly charmed. The surprise lies not only in their appearance but in their origin, that something as ordinary as a soda can or milk tin could be reborn as a character with such warmth. The message is simple and sweet. Imagination doesn't just decorate a garden, it gives it voices, faces, and laughter. Placed in clusters, the tin can pumpkin faces create the feeling of a village celebrating autumn. Some look mischievous, others kind, all glowing together as if sharing secrets. In their presence, the garden feels less like a patch of earth and more like a stage where fairy stories come alive. There's a certain magic in stumbling upon mushrooms in the garden. They appear as if by surprise, sprouting overnight like whispers from the earth. Now imagine these mushrooms not born of soil, but from recycled plastic bottles, painted and shaped into whimsical forms. They become fairy mushrooms, little beacons of color and play, turning an ordinary patch of ground into a woodland corner of enchantment. Each mushroom begins as the curved base of a plastic bottle, inverted and painted in bold shades, crimson with white spots, golden orange with rustic flecks, or soft pastel blues that glow like something from a dream. Stems are crafted from bottlenecks or stacked scraps, coated in earthy whites and browns. Some mushrooms are short and plump, others tall and thin, creating the illusion of a tiny fairy forest scattered across the garden bed. In daylight, they add cheerful bursts of color among marigolds, tomatoes, or ivy, like playful guests at a harvest party. Children run to them, convinced they might find fairies resting beneath their caps. Adults smile at the whimsy, and at the surprise that these mushrooms were once nothing but trash. By night, a few even glow softly with hidden lights, their spotted caps shining like lanterns under the harvest moon. The charm of these fairy mushrooms lies in their story. They are proof that recycling can be playful, that imagination can transform the simplest of things into objects that make people stop, stare, and feel joy. A plastic bottle, once forgotten, becomes part of a fairy tale told not with words but with color and light. Scattered at the base of a tree, lined along a stone path, or clustered near a rustic fence, they turn corners of the garden into secret places of wonder. And in their presence, one can almost believe that the fairies themselves painted them overnight, just to share a smile. Every garden feels safer when it has a guardian, something that watches quietly through the night. In autumn, when shadows grow long and the air sharpens with cold, the role of protector falls to a pair of wide-eyed owls. Yet these owls are not carved from wood or stone. They are born from old milk cans, recycled into owl guardians, whimsical sentinels of the garden. The round body of the milk can becomes the owl's chest, painted in soft rustic tones, browns, creams, and speckled golds that echo autumn leaves. Large circles cut or painted on the surface form its glowing eyes, wide and curious. Bottle caps or tin lids, attached as ears, tilt slightly to give the owls a playful personality. Perched near the garden's edge, they stand proud yet endearing, like keepers of a fairy woodland. In the daylight, the owls look charming, with their painted feathers catching the sun. They blend into the scene as if they've always belonged there, peering from the corner of a fence or beside a patch of pumpkins. Children point to them with delight, whispering stories of magical owls who talk at night. Adults, too, are drawn in, surprised that such warmth and whimsy could come from something as humble as a discarded can. But when dusk settles, the true magic awakens. A soft light glows from inside the cans, shining through the cutout eyes, as though the owls are alive and watching over the garden. The effect is gentle, not frightening, a warm glow that reassures, as though the guardians are whispering, "This place is safe, this place is home." The beauty of the milk and owl guardians lies in their mixture of strength and play. They remind us that protection need not be stern, it can be whimsical, funny, and kind. In the heart of the garden, they stand not only as decorations but as storytellers, carrying the message that imagination turns even scrap into symbols of watchful love. Every magical garden needs water, not always a stream or a fountain, but sometimes something small, secret, and unexpected. Imagine an old tire, once worn and forgotten, transformed into a fairy pond, shimmering quietly in the corner of an autumn garden. Its circle cradles water, light, and imagination, turning trash into a reflection of the sky. The tire is laid flat, painted in mossy greens and deep autumn browns, its edges softened with ivy and stones. Inside, water gathers, and floating upon it are tiny blossoms, marigolds, chrysanthemums, even the last brave tomato flowers of the season. A soft glow beneath the water, from hidden lights, makes the pond shimmer as though fairies had dipped their lanterns there. Sometimes a few leaves drift across the surface, catching the glow and looking like golden boats sailing on a miniature sea. By day, the pond mirrors the world above. Clouds drift lazily across its surface, while children crouch low to watch their reflections ripple alongside the bright petals. Adults, too, pause, caught in the stillness, surprised that something so humble as a tire could hold so much quiet beauty. At night, the pond comes alive with mystery. The glowing water seems deeper than it is, as if leading into another realm. Firefly lights hover nearby, and the surrounding plants lean toward the glow as though enchanted by it. Visitors might imagine fairies gathering to sip from the pond or owls glancing down to see their reflections in its tiny mirror. The enchanted tire fairy pond does more than recycle. It reshapes the way we see what is possible. Where once was rubber and weight, now there is lightness, water, and life. In a world that often rushes, this small circle of stillness becomes a reminder: beauty doesn't need to be grand to feel infinite. Sometimes, a tire filled with water is enough to hold the whole sky. And that brings us to the end of today's magical journey through Trash to Treasure Fairy Gardens. I hope these 27 whimsical autumn ideas have sparked your imagination and reminded you that even the simplest scraps can carry magic. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, leave a like, and share your favorite idea in the comments. Your words inspire new creations and might spark someone else's project too. Until next time, keep creating, keep imagining, and keep turning everyday life into something extraordinary.